Good morning. What better way to start than with sirens screeching in the background? Don't mind the noise, the background noise. I live by a fire station, so. But I've decided to start recording my first official podcast episode. I recorded something last night, but I think that was just a warm up. And I decided to start over because that's what I do. It's Sunday, October 26th at 10:03 a.m. I've been wanting to start a podcast, and I did at one point many, many months ago when I first got nudged by Spirit to start this podcast at the beginning of the year, but that was more like SP focused, and I want to focus on everything. I want to focus on me and on energy, and so those episodes will be deleted and I'm gonna start over. So, not that I won't still be talking about love and relationships and things like that. I definitely will still be talking about that, but I've grown a lot since the last episode I recorded. So, but this first episode I wanted to talk about energy, and energy does not lie. And what I mean by that is, if you believe something is for you, it is for you, and the energy is not lying to you. So, if you are feeling the soul tug, the soul stirring, as I like to call it, let's see, maybe you live your life and you thought you were doing everything right that is supposed to make you happy, right? You've been told this. You've been told by society, by the media, by everything you see out there that in order to find true fulfillment and happiness, you have to get married, get a job, have a good career, have a house, and you have all those things, but there's still something inside that you feel is missing. That's your soul coming online saying, hey, we have a mission here. We have something we have to do here on earth in this lifetime, and we got to find it. So your internal GPS is waking up going, hey, it's time, because as you see, a lot of stuff is going on in the world right now. We're under leadership that is threatening our democracy, and that is the system that is falling apart. A system that was never viable to begin with. It was never gonna be sustainable. It's finally falling apart. The illusions are falling apart. People are realizing that it's all been a bunch of distractions and things like that to try to get us to react, right? They've been harvesting our energy. They've been trying to manipulate the narrative to the way that they want it, and it's no longer starting to work because people are not reacting how they want them to react. So the scare tactics are being turned up because people are realizing this is a bunch of bullshit. And that's the energy. That's the energy doing its work. I like to call it the great balancing is what's happening. It's the many, many years of injustice, of people taking advantage, abusing the power that they have. And instead of using it for good, they're using it for their own selfish reasons. And that energy is coming back. And that's just to show you energy. Any energy you put out will always come back. It always comes back. It used to be that it comes back. It might not necessarily come back in this lifetime. It might sometimes come back in other lifetimes, but we have a new grid system as well with the energy response comes back quicker now, which is the purpose of that is to bring more authenticity. Authenticity is going to be the new popular thing. Like, that's going to be, if you're not truly authentic, you are not going to have a good time here on earth. Eventually, it's building up to that. So you'll see those people that rely on the illusion. You'll see them scramble to keep up the facade, to keep up the illusions, but it's not going to hold up. So you'll start seeing that. And I feel like we've already been starting to see that with like Taylor Swift and stuff like that. And that's going to be happening with celebrities and things like that, which has already been happening for a while with other celebrities, but it's going to keep going. It's going to keep being exposed. The same with government officials and things like that. Like, that's all getting exposed, I think. And that's part of the reason too why I feel like the scare tactics are coming up too, is they're trying to distract us from the real truth of what we know is being hidden on purpose. But the energy the thing about energy is always going to expose what it needs to expose. Things are always going to come to light, no matter how much you try to hide it. There's always going to be a circumstance or something that comes up that is going to bring the truth to light. And that's what's happening. So there's no way to prevent it. These people have been trying to prevent this. They've known that this is going to be happening. And now I'm starting to think, I wonder if that's why they built an underground, I don't know if you guys heard about the underground thing that like billionaires built or whatever, like, because they knew soon enough, like, I don't know. I still don't have full insight on all of that. I've only gotten bits and pieces of things, but I can only imagine. But just to prove, I'm not trying to prove anything, but just to say that energy doesn't lie. And so if you're feeling something stirring inside of you, that's your invitation to check in with yourself, check in with your spirit team. If you don't have really a habit of going in within to seek answers, I encourage you to get into that. However it is that works best for you. There is no right way to do it. Everyone has their own methods, their own ways. Find the method and way that works for you, whether that's through meditation, through presence, through mindfulness practices, whatever it is that helps you go within and feel the energy and see what it tells you. Getting into a habit, it's always hard. I viewed it almost like a diet. I used to hate diets, and growing up overweight, I was always trying to get on some kind of diet or something like that. And it's like a diet. It's a discipline. It's a mental diet. You are disciplining your body. You're rewiring your body. You're retraining your body, your brain, how to think, how to feel, because the way that you were taught to think and feel is not how it's supposed to be. It was done on purpose to make us feel like we're powerless, we have no control. It's to make us think that there's a power outside of us when the power is inside of us. And so that power now is calling you, it's trying to get your attention to come within and come. And so it's going to take a lot of trust in yourself and developing that trust. So whatever you need to do to get to the point where you trust yourself, if you need to go to therapy, if you need to, whatever it is that you need to do to improve that relationship with yourself, work on that relationship with yourself to get to the point where you trust yourself, to get to the point where you can check in with yourself and check in with spirit on what, you know, what your soul purpose is, on why you are here on earth. You know, it's not easy at first. I know for me it wasn't. It was a lot of questioning myself of like, did I get that right? And just making notes of what I feel and hear, and just keep going, you know, not attaching yourself to any kind of result or answer, almost just going with the flow of it. And then it's like almost like collecting the little bits and pieces until it like all comes together. That's the best way I could describe it, that it happened for me. Because I remember when I was like packing for my apartment, I was going through some old journals back from like 2021, 2022, and I used to do some free writing back then too. And that free writing is when you just get into writing without even thinking, and you just let your body do the work. And that's a form of channeling. And even then, like the things that I would write would be like about my soul purpose, or like I'm meant for bigger things and things like that. It was like ever since then my soul has been nudging me toward this path, and I've just been following that. I've been following that little by little. At the time, I still worked, and I did still work until I felt that it was time to let go of my job. I'm not saying everyone's gonna have to leave their job to follow their soul path, but there might come a point in your path where you might be asked to take the leap. Because now that I look back, it's like, you know, it's like I've said in one of my TikTok videos. It reminded me of that story of that rich man that comes up to Jesus, and he says, I've done everything, I follow all the commandments. Like, what else do I need to do to inherit the kingdom of God? And Jesus tells him, give away all your things and follow me. And the guy hesitates, right? And so that's kind of what you're going to be asked to do eventually, right? Like, you're going to have to let go of the things that make you feel like you need them to survive, because you need to let them all go. And because you need to show the universe that you are in full, complete trust and surrender. So whatever that's gonna look like for you, doesn't mean it's gonna necessarily look exactly how it looked for me. It could look different. It could be a form of the same, you know. I'm not here to say how it's exactly gonna look for you. Everyone's journey is different. And so for me, it was at one point getting the signal that it was time to leave my job, and I had to be without a job and without income for me to truly develop that and embody that energy of, I am abundant, even though I had $0 in my bank account, you know. And and I was taken care of even in those moments, even when I was living off of what, 50, $100 a week at a time sometimes. I never went hungry. My pets never went hungry. We always had something to eat. So we were never abandoned in that way, and even in the moments, I'm not saying there were easy moments. There were moments where I cried, where I screamed, and I said, even right now, with the way that I'm feeling, this frustration that I'm feeling for not having any money, I still know that I'm taken care of. I still know I know what belongs to me. And usually after I declared that is when more money would show up. It was like the universe responded to that. It was like you're stretched, and you're stretched to this discomfort to see, are you going to maintain that faith, that signal, even when your circumstances show that you don't have anything. And so, and if you don't, and if you, if you don't, if it still doesn't, it doesn't mean you have to pass or fail or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not ready yet, it's okay. You could wait until you're ready. You know what I mean? Like, then that's something that happens with me is sometimes when I receive a download or something, a nudge to do something, and maybe at first I don't feel comfortable at first, I wait until I feel more comfortable and then I do it too. So, like, you're not expected to just like receive the information and go and do it. Like, Spirit understands that you're human and that you need to process and that you need to take things in. And I mean, they expect you to also use your discernment, right? They don't want you to blindly follow without your own developing your own self-trust, without developing your own discernment and your own, and you still get to do things your way as well, because you're co-creating with Spirit. So like they're the ones in like bringing the inspiration down, and it's your job to anchor that into earth, into here. That's why we call it creating heaven on earth, because you're getting these visions, you're getting this inspiration, because it's Spirit giving you glimpses of what your future is like that involves your soul purpose. And so your task is to believe it, to trust it, and to anchor it, whether that be if you want to write it in a journal entry, if you want to do a voice note, if you want to create art or something that grounds that energy in, because that's how we manifest. That's how you manifest, right? It's not just an idea. You have to do some kind of aligned action for it too, right? And you also have to feel it. And I feel like for me that's not an issue at all, like feeling it. And especially if I get visions during meditation, like I'm able to feel it, because I'm at a point now where I like, it's like I'm there sometimes. So feeling it in my body, feeling that joy and excitement now, because you're feeling it now. You're living in the now, and you're experiencing your future now, because that's how you should always, that's how it should always be, because we're living in the now. We're always living in the now. We're living in the now until our future catches up to us. So we're that's why I say find your joy where you can, because we're already meant to be living like we already have everything that Spirit has shown us is ours, right? So instead of worrying, where's my stuff, where's the things that Spirit said, I'm already living like I already have it. Because I do. I'm already seeing things unfolding. I already have my apartment, which I was told part of the beginning of all this was I was going to move into a new place. Okay, I've moved to a new place. I've started things in regards to what I was told I was going to do. I meant to teach about this. So I've started my TikTok page. I share about that. I share when I feel inspired. And normally when I share videos, it's normally things that I'm practicing in my own journey at the moment. I've been decorating my apartment, my magic room. I added more things, and even doing those things is anchoring my higher self, because this is what I'm meant to do here. I'm meant to create and create what I'm being asked to create, right? I'm being asked to record here and talk to you about my experiences. I'm being asked to write about my experiences as well, and I've been documenting all that. Eventually, that'll turn into something too. I'm creating the stuff behind the scenes so that when the things finally unfold in my reality, I have it all ready to go. I've set up my website. I've set up my things. It's doing the energetic work behind the scenes, trusting that the universe is doing their part behind the scenes too. And, that's what I was doing too when I didn't know exactly when my apartment was going to sell, my condo was going to sell. They had told us August, and then they just kept delaying it. And so they never gave us an exact date. until like the week before. They were like, oh, within the next week or so. And so, but that didn't matter. Like I had packed a few boxes already. I was already making plans of like what I was gonna move, what I wasn't gonna move, that kind of stuff. And then as soon as I was given the okay, everything signed, expect the funds, which literally was on September 30th is when I got my funds, right? For October 1st is when I signed my lease. So as soon as they told me, okay, we're just waiting for for the buyer to sign, I started looking for apartments. This apartment that I got was the second apartment I saw. And I only saw maybe like a handful of apartments. I didn't even spend a lot of energy looking at apartments. I saw this apartment. Well, I had talked to the lady and I told her my situation because, I told her I just sold my condo. I don't have a job. My plan is to pay the year up front, while I work on I said, I'm investing in myself. I'm working on my own stuff. If in a year nothing comes out of it, then I'll probably go back to work or something, just the story I'm telling them. I don't truly believe that's what's going to happen. I truly trust and believe that things are going to unfold how Spirit has said they will unfold. And so I'm not going back to a 9-to-5 job. Like, I already know this, but this is what I'm telling people who are still asleep, who are still, I'm like, this is my plan. But in reality, I don't think I'm going to need to have another job. Like, I know that this is going to grow and it's going to expand into more. So, but this is the story that I'm, told my landlord and the person that was helping with the rental and stuff like that. So anyway, I came to see the apartment, and there were some roommates that were looking at the apartment before me. So I stayed to talk to the lady that I had talked to on the phone. She was the agent. And I was talking to her, and, we had been in conversation on the phone already, and I had told her some of my story about my husband and stuff like that, and how, and she was like, oh, if it were up to me, like, I would give it to you. And I was like, oh, in the back of my head, I'm like, well, maybe I still have a chance, right? The other people were taking a while to look at the apartment, and I was like, oh, that's fine. But then finally, when I went to see it myself, it didn't take me long at all. As soon as I walked into the magic room, I could just see myself in here, like, doing magic and doing my thing, doing my meditations, doing the things that I'd like to do with my work. And I was like, ooh, I like this. So that was on a Thursday. I applied and it was like old school stuff. Like, I had to print the application and everything. So I had to go to the library and I printed it out. I filled it out. I wrote, she said they wanted a copy of my credit score, which I don't have a good credit score either, which is also part of the reason why I wanted to pay up front, because I know I don't look good on paper, but I still wanted someone to give me a chance. And, I submitted that. I wrote a little thing about how I was planning to pay up front. I, just sold my condo. I'm waiting for the cash to come in, that kind of stuff. And then I left it at that. And I don't know, a part of me I didn't think I wasn't going to get it, but the way the lady was talking, she was like, well, I'll give it to the landlord, but I know he seems, like, she made it seem like he had some doubts or something. And I was like, okay. So I was like, whatever. If it's not that one, it's fine. And over the weekend, I went to see another apartment that actually was a similar layout as this one. It had something similar like the magic room, but it was a sunroom that led to a patio. Like, my magic room doesn't lead to anything. It's just a magic room. It's just a room. And it even had the wooden walls like it does here, but instead of, like, my magic room has windows, that one, instead of like with the windows, it was a patio door, which was still nice. I was like, I liked it. And I was like, okay, the only thing that I didn't really like about it is it was on a busy street, and that's the only thing I didn't like, because parking would be kind of hard. And that one came with garage parking too, but it would have been more a month for that. And I have an SUV and the other car's an SUV, and it would have been a tight spot. But I would have been able to work around it. So I was like, I was open to it. I was like, okay, whatever. I applied for it, and the landlords and stuff were also open to working with me on my situation. So I was like, okay, whatever the universe decides. And honestly, I actually thought this one was gonna be it for a moment, because I was like, they seemed a lot more open than the original apartment, but whatever. I just applied and I left it all in the universe's hands. I was like, whatever's meant for me will be for me. And then on Monday is when I got the call from the agent that said that I got this apartment. I was surprised. I was like, oh, okay. Like, and that was okay. So by then I was still waiting for the funds to hit. So the next day the funds finally hit, and that's when I was able to sign the lease on October 1st. So yeah, it happened so fast that I'm like, whoa, that was so fast. Like, and the landlord is really nice. Obviously he had some reservations because, someone offering to pay the year up front, right? That almost seems too good to be true. And I know there can be people who like scam. And I was also being careful on my end to make sure I wasn't getting scammed. So like, we made arrangements to meet at my bank so that he could see that I'm making the checks for him, so that he knows it's for real. And then we met at the apartment so he could give me the keys. And then that's when I exchanged my money, because I'm like, I ain't giving the money till I get the keys. And his mom was here in the apartment, because he's maybe, he might be around my age, or around my age. He's younger too. And so I feel like his mom was like there to kind of like make sure that he wasn't getting scammed either, which was sweet. It was nice. But they're really nice people, and the landlord is really nice and accommodating. So yeah, no, and the place is good, and it's quiet. I mean, I have upstairs neighbors, but they're not like noisy or anything, other than some steps here and there. And my next door neighbor, she's also, I barely even see them. So it's nice. It's a nice place. I like it. My old apartment was in a very noisy area, right by the alley, so there was always cars driving by, and um it's a lot more peaceful over here, and I have trees and a beautiful view from my magic room, and I love it. So, but yes, but energy doesn't lie. Like, that's something that I learned throughout my journey, in like through plant medicine journeys too, because plant medicine, when you completely like your ego is completely like dormant, right? When you're doing the plant medicine. Um and I feel like I had so many like ego tests during those journeys, where part of my grounding technique is energy doesn't lie. So like, no matter the illusions that I was being shown, I kept grounding myself in that truth, that energy doesn't lie, or just grounding myself in who I am, who I know I am. Whenever my ego tries to flare up and be like, are you sure? Are you sure you're not crazy? Or are you sure this is like, what if this turns out to be like something completely nothing? And then I'm like, I know who I am. Energy doesn't lie, and I know who I am. So those are some good ways that I fight that energy back, and that's your ego. And so there's no such thing as the devil. There's no like those energies that maybe tempt you or challenge you, like your ego might sometimes. That can be your ego, or that can be energies that are in your field that are trying to influence you. So it's why I always advocate for advocate and say, protect your energy, set up your energy protections, because your energy field not being protected is like being home with the door unlocked. Like, anyone can come through without your permission. And by setting the boundaries, you're setting your own alarm system, and saying, nope, only energies that are aligned with my highest good are allowed. And, you know, I still get pinged, you know, I'll get pinged from my team sometimes when, oh, something tried to get through, but we got it. You know, like things like that where or my cat next to, sometimes when she comes by, sometimes she can get very intense as a guardian, as an energetic guardian. And she'll come and, like, you know, look around very intently, like something was trying to get through and she's making sure it doesn't get through or something. So, you know, the more you grow in your journey, the more you're able to feel the energy, the more you're able to track it. Even, you know, like for me, like it's gotten to the point too, like as soon as I have an internal shift, meaning like I heal something or I let go of something and I could feel the shift internally, I decide something in my new identity, I can now see how it ripples into my 3D. It'll be either a noise outside or something, like my 3D will respond in some way to confirm to me that that shift has happened. And so, you know, I've mentioned this before. Um, your external reality is a good indicator of like what's going on internally. So if you notice patterns that keep coming up, kind of try to look up maybe the energetic meaning of it. Or the energetic meaning of it is a good way to start to kind of see what it might mean for you. So like, you know, if you keep seeing a bird of a certain kind, if you keep you know, I don't know, like just this is random things, but something that you notice that comes to your awareness that you're like, okay, that's, it catches your attention and you're like, I wonder what that means. Look it up. That's your nudge to look it up. Whether that be Google or if you like to use ChatGPT for insight, like whichever tools that you like to use to look up the energetic meanings of things, look it up and see what it tells you, because sometimes that has led me to some guidance on my own. Or like there'd be moments where I'd see a spider on my rear view, on my left side window mirror thing, and it would make a web, and like it would come up maybe almost every day. And one time it didn't come, and I'm like, huh, no spider today. And then all of a sudden, in the rear view mirror inside, I see the spider and it comes down from the web, like, here I am. And then it goes back up, like, and it disappeared, almost like you rang. Like, things like that. Like, you know, and I know, and I looked up the energetic meaning of spiders and spider webs and stuff like that. And that was very insightful too. So, like, any animals that show up, like, everything has meaning in your reality. It's the way that your spiritual team, that spirit communicates with you. I'm not saying every little thing you look at has a meaning. It's like mostly when you're like practicing presence or relaxed and then you happen to notice something, you know, it's something that, like that, if you feel it has meaning, it most likely does, you know, like it probably is. So don't dismiss yourself so easily. If something comes up, don't just, like, I know our automatic reaction sometimes is to dismiss it and be like, oh no, I'm just crazy, I'm reading too much into it. Don't read too much into it. Read into it first and then decide if you're reading too much into it. You know what I mean? Like, read into it, see if it resonates, and then decide, you know. I think we're so easy to dismiss ourselves internally sometimes too, when it could easily be guidance coming from our spirit team. But since we think that our thoughts are ours, right? As soon as the thought comes up, we go, oh no, 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 no. But wait, let's pause a second before saying no. What is that thought again? Like, come back, what's that thought? Oh, that might be guidance from my team. You know, it doesn't really feel like a thought of mine. It might be guidance. Let me look into that. You know, like, we need to get out of the habit of, you know, kind of What is that book? There's a book, right? Breaking out of the habit of being yourself. That literally is what we need to do, because you know, once you realize that it's the way that we react and think and stuff that influences our reality. Like now I try to stay away from those automatic reactions, and instead of notice it and, you know, spend that moment thinking about it, or reflecting on that, but we're wired to dismiss things, to like always be have our mind full of things that we need to do, that we need to get done, that blah 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 blah. And then when a random thought drops into our head, we dismiss it so quickly that, hey, that could easily be some guidance that we're not stopping to take a breath, which I'm looking to have this weight thing that says take a deep breath and notice the thought and see what it is, other than dismissing it, because your thoughts are not yours. They're information that's coming through, and you're accepting it as your thoughts. But if you become more conscious of it, more aware, you can easily decide what thoughts you could identify with and which ones are not you. Even as you come up with a new identity, even if you decide this is the new person I want to be, okay, what kind of thoughts does this new person have? Start creating those thoughts yourself. Start writing those thoughts yourself and saying them out loud. Do the the overnight affirmations. That helped me immensely with my confidence, like doing the night affirmations. Oh my gosh, that was life-changing for me. That helped me so much. Because again, we're programmed we're programmed to feel like we're pieces of shit all the time. Like we can never amount to anything. That's how we're wired, because that's how the generations before us were trained. And we're here to break those cycles. We're here to build something new. We're here to create a brand new bloodline that is not full of all these energies that need to be healed, right? We're healing those energies for our bloodlines. We're creating new generations of people that don't have all this trauma in their bodies like we do, that we've all been carrying for generations and generations. So think of that when you're going through your journey. Think of the future you're building. Think of your future family. Think whenever it gets hard, whenever it gets difficult to face those shadows that come up, because there'll be some shadows that you didn't even maybe think of, or you might have forgotten or something, and just think you're doing this so that your child, your family is not born with feeling the way that we're feeling, because we're healing all that. So, I hope that maybe helps or gives some hope or some motivation for people who maybe might be going through their journey and it's difficult. I know it's difficult, and just remember too, we are setting the blueprint for how it's, because moving forward, there's going to be generations of people looking for guidance on their own spiritual journey, and we're setting that precedent with our own journeys, and we're showing people how it's done, and then people are going to follow our lead, and then that's going to keep going and going and going, to create this balance that's currently happening, where the people that have been suffering, that suffering's over. We're healing, we're growing, we are creating heaven on earth, and I want to do what I can to help you create your heaven on earth, because it's a good place to be here, and even though there's still a lot of things that need to unfold. I can already feel the difference since I've moved here. And I just want others to be able to get to this point too, if you're not already here. It's so much better. It's so much better than how it used to be. And I want others to be able to experience that too. So that's where I'm going to end this first episode. I hope that you got something out of this. I don't want to keep the episodes too long because I want you to sit with this. I want you to think about it. I want you to process. I want your guides to work with you, after listening to this. So, if you're listening to this, this was meant for you. This was meant to activate something in you. So I'll let the energy work on you, but I love you. You're doing your best. You're doing the best that you can with what you have, and that is more than enough. Have a great day.